Welcome. You're just in time for the finale. What's up, guys? I got the pencil here, and here we are to do a breakdown and review for chapter 268 of Jujutsu Kaisen, which is known as Finale. Now, of course, this is a quick review, so when I tell you this chapter has me feeling a whole bunch of different things, I won't go fully in depth on them, but I'm going to try and touch everything I can for 4 minutes in 4 sections. Section 1 will be the plot, Section 2 will be the characters, Section 3 will be the scaling, Section 4 will be the very, very limited future, so we only have 3 chapters left. So let's not waste any more time, and let's hop right into it. Ending me. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? This is that guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, I do happen to have it on me and keep it on me at all times. And another fun fact, we got 4 minutes. So let's start the timer right now. And plot, it's over. Like, it's literally called finale. Like, we're done. Like, I think, legitimately speaking, the plot's kind of over. Notably, unless you have faith in a sequel series, which I kind of don't. Like, at least me, I kind of don't. I think we're kind of done. The main villain's defeated. The entire chapter doesn't even mention Tengen. And there are 3 chapters left in the manga. We're not even in the end game anymore. We're just at the end. It's called finale for a reason. And technically, I'll say this, since technically this is the confirmation of the end of Sukuna, as Megumi himself mentions at the start of the chapter, this is the biggest plot progression we've had since all the way back in 221 when Satoru Gojo was first released, and the battle between Gojo and Sukuna began 2 chapters later. The Shinjuku showdown is over. The conflict against our 3 main antagonists, technically 2, and I guess you could throw Urume in there, but the big 3 antagonists of Ryomen Sukuna, Big Jaku, and Urume, it's all over. We're done. JJK is ending. And there's no bigger plot progression than that. So overall, I kind of have to give the chapter a 10 out of 10 for that, because, like, I mean, I don't know how much more final you can get in terms of plot. Like, legitimately, I do think we're kind of just in the wrap-up and cooldown phases. Of course, there can be a time skip. Of course, while technically this chapter does include a time skip, we don't actually get to see everyone recovering from the battle against Sukuna. We don't see Yuji recovering. We don't see... Well, Nobara doesn't necessarily need to recover. We don't see Akari recovering or anything like that. We don't see how they react. We can't just skip ahead an undeterminate amount of time. And we find out some characters are alive and some characters aren't. Of course, Nobara's alive, Megumi's alive. He only gets about 2 scars from this. He gets the scars of Sukuna's larger eyes on the right side of his face and the scar of Sukuna's extra lower eye on the left side of his face. And the other major thing is Yuta is alive. Notably, they say we have to save him, but, like, clearly based on how the chapter ends in this very joking manner. And is Hotu alright? Only 3 chapters left. It's clear that Yuta's alive. So overall, the plot's kind of finished. And while, let me see, I can talk about how I feel about that. And the main thing that we do have to talk about is the pacing of it. Now, for the particular defeat of Sukuna, unlike many, I don't actually believe his defeat was rushed. We've been trying to defeat the same guy for over a year now, y'all. About, let's see, the battle started in 223. It is now 268. So that, if my math is correct, is 45 chapters. We've been trying to beat the same dude and save the same guy for 45 chapters. I don't think we can say the defeat of Sukuna was rushed. It's literally a 5th of the manga. Okay, not a 5th, but like at least a 6th of the manga. Mathematically, I'm not sure off the top of my dome piece. But still, I don't think Sukuna's defeat is rushed. I do think Urume's is, though. 100%. Wrapping up this plot point by just having Urume off themselves, absolutely garbage. I don't like it at all. That's rushed. Horribly rushed. And I'm going to go more in depth in its own video talking about why I think it's rushed and why I think it's a waste of potential and why I think they genuinely fumbled the bag on this one. But I'm just going to lay it down. I'm not defending it. I'm not going to bother defending it. I know a bunch of people don't care. I care. I liked both of these characters, and now one of them's a forever pillow puncher, and one of them did absolutely nothing, is now kind of worthless of the narrative. But with that being the case, that aside, the rushing of the wrap-up of the battle also feels a little bit iffy, with there only being 3 chapters left. I feel like we didn't have to jump this far. I think we could have seen a bit more reunions and calming and, like, the genuine reactions to Sukuna's defeat. We kind of glaze over it for the most part. Mainly because we start talking about Nobara and her return specifically, which, I'm sorry, Nobara, a little bit too late. You should have returned sooner so we could actually have a chapter dedicated to it. But with that being the case, it feels a little bit empty, a little bit hollow, considering we've been working for this for over a year for the past 45 chapters. It feels like after this, no one really talks about it, which is a little bit wacky, a little bit silly, a little bit goofy, but of course we have something else on the line, so let's move on to characters. Character-wise, this is another part of the chapter where I'm mixed, where Gege has put me in the corner. He has both assists, 7 bars, I'm 2 taps away, but he knows a TOD, and I'm ready to get opened up by a low. A medium low. I'm gonna get touched of that because essentially part of me really likes the character work in this chapter because I like the humanity that Sukuna displays, his genuine desire to keep living. I like the fact that Ryomen Sukuna in the very end, instead of giving into that human desire to live no matter what, to cling on to life, which every living being has, not just humans but especially humanity as a sentient species, when offered the chance, when offered the opportunity to go back to Yuji, even after he denied Yuji's offer back in 265, he stands on business. Even though he literally can't stand, now he's reduced to mush, he decides to just up and dip. As he says, hey, don't underestimate me. I'm a curse. So he dips out on his own terms. So I respect that wholeheartedly. I do fully respect that Ryomen Sukuna stood on business. He showed a big chunk of his humanity in his desire to live and cling on to Bengi Fushiguro and have him sink back into the darkness so he could live eternally and specifically not lose to Yuji. But at the same time, it's like the desperation of Sukuna is interesting because it highlights his humanity, which I like, but it feels a little bit on the character of Sukuna, which I kind of don't like. But at the same time, it does make sense in character since we know he never wanted to be in a cage. Once again, this is something that I'm going to have to think more on separately, like off camera, and then come back to y'all either in the long review and probably come back again after that in its own video, because Sukuna's characterization has basically been the entire Shinjuku Showdown up to this point. So I got many different thoughts. I'm feeling iffy, but I mostly like the characterization for Sukuna. Yuji's characterization too, he does feel enlightened. He does feel sort of transcendent. He feels the pity for Sukuna still, and he offers Sukuna that chance even though Sukuna denied it because he aligns with Sukuna. I like how it is the antithesis to the dynamic of Yuji and Mahito in terms of its conclusion, where Mahito versus Yuji ended up with Yuji accepting Mahito's thesis. Meanwhile, Sukuna has no choice but accept Yuji's thesis since he literally lost the fight. It's a flip of that dynamic. I think it's really neat. It's good to show that with Yuji, at least the 2 major antagonists of this narrative, of his narrative, reflect upon him in interesting ways. I like that. Megami's characterization, I also do like. I like how ultimately, in the end, by letting Sukuna go, by letting Sukuna leave his body, he ultimately is still choosing to live for others. The millions of others, the billions of others on the planet that Sukuna would hypothetically ruin if he were to have started the merger. Fortunately, the merger goes unmentioned in this chapter, because of course it does. But still, I do like that aspect of Megami, acknowledging that ultimately he's not necessarily developing in terms of his mental state, in terms of how he views himself relative to other people. He still thinks he can't live a regular life, especially now, and he still thinks that ultimately he's going to live for somebody else, but he's going to live for those who deserve it, not someone who desires it like Ryomen Sukuna. I like that. Nobara's characterization is fine. It's fine. It's mostly fine. Once again, I'm mostly indifferent, mainly because I don't have the strongest opinions on the character, and she's been gone for a majority of the narrative. Like, she's literally not in an entire third of the plot. Realistically, like, darn near 2/3 of the plot. She's barely there. But with that being the case, the other bit of characterization, I like, one thing I'll admit, I like Hakari's characterization. I was like, hey, I'm a lucky guy. That's my whole thing. I'm the Curry Kenji, the pillow puncher. Yeah, I'm real lucky. Yeah. That's fine. Urume's willingness to just off themselves the moment Sukuna left makes sense for their character as they know them so far. We don't know why they're like this, but makes sense. I'll lean with it. I'll rock with it. So the characterization for those two is fine as well. The only characterization that I kind of just flat out don't like, I really kind of don't like how Gojo's characterized in Megami's letter. Nobara's letter, him caring about the family ties for Nobara, even though he understands that she may not because he knows very little about her, makes sense. The way he's so blasé about the slaughter of Megami's father after he himself was hesitant to tell Megami the truth in the past feels weird and out of character. And I'll talk about that more in another part because I have run out of time. Let's talk about the scaling. It's basically non-existent, and I don't think we're going to get any more scaling this chapter, but there are 2 big chunks I do want to discuss. No. Sukuna is not stronger than, Sukuna is still the strongest. Yuji did not surpass him. He didn't reach him. Nothing has really changed. Nothing. I'll be completely honest. The only interesting scaling thing, as many people pointed out, technically Megami should probably have access to Shrine in some way, shape, or form eventually. It took a while for Yuji to awaken it and it required multiple black flashes, upon black flashes, upon black flashes, but Sukuna was using Megami's body actively for months. Sukuna used Yuji's body, for maybe a total of an hour over the entire series. So technically, Sukuna spent longer in Yuji's, and plus Yuji was born with a Sukuna finger, but Megami should technically get Shrine eventually, but it literally doesn't matter, and we're not going to see that. Like, no way I'm going to be going to see that. That's an interesting scaling point, though, and once again, I still want to hammer in, Sukuna's the strongest character in the series, nothing has changed. Especially with the lack of the merger actually happening, in the consistent non-mentioning of Tengen, and Yuta still being alive, and 3 chapters left, meaning I highly doubt we're going to, unless we get a super giga dark ending, where the merger happens anyway because of Kenjaku's crazy backup plans or something like that. I'm just wholeheartedly believing that ultimately scaling's kind of done. The only other scaling piece, yeah, I'll admit it. Every single Akari hater was right. He's a pillow puncher. Urume still basically has no damage on them. Sure, their clothes are off, which is hilarious for everyone who assumed that Akari was just. And let's just say Urume was playing with Akari's joystick. Let's just, it's funny in that sense that Urume's clothes are off, but they basically took no damage. Of course, they have RCT, but still, Akari's done no damage. Again, he doesn't win. His opponent offs themselves. He's fodder. I hate to admit it, but with this fight ending as it does, Hakari is literally garbage. In AP, he's not even top 10. He's just straight garbage. He's booty meat. Did basically no damage to Kashimo. Damaged a Yuji that didn't really want to damage him, and barely did anything to Urume, and has an entire fight off screen. His scaling is trash. He's garbage, and he's a horrid character scaling wise. Literally a punching kick merchant without the ability to punch and kick. A damage one merchant. He's awful doo butter garbage. I'm sorry. There's no other scaling point I can hammer home more than that. Urume, also, if you disregard, because I was talking with some people on a stream over on another platform that I'm on about this. If you disregard the Maki feat, Urume's also garbage, scaling-wise. The best she's got is Fatigue Shibuya characters. Or the best they've got. Once again, we never really got confirmation of Urume's gender. But with that being the case, that's the best they've got. Fatigue Shibuya. If you ignore that Maki and Yuji feat, that feat against the pseudo-awakened liberated Yuji and post Sakurajima Maki, if you exclude that feat, which I've heard many people do at this point, I didn't realize we were doing that, but since we are, both these characters are fodder. Once again, it's annoying because that whole group, the Kashimo, Hakari, and Urume group, along with, heck, even throw Charles in there, they are all annoying to scale because they don't scale anywhere because they're all trash and we don't get to see their fights. And the fights we do get to see kind of lead nowhere but themselves. So yeah, Hakari, garbage. Urume, garbage. I'd love to believe that Urume could have done more. But now, based on the fact that both Hakari and them are basically alive and undamaged by the end of this, I know Hakari's immortal and has infinite RCT and yada 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 yada. They're both trash. That's all I got scaling wise. And I guess you could mention, or one thing I do want to hammer home, yeah, Nobara is still the same level she was post Shibuya. It's not implied that she got any sort of awakenings. We've seen a lot of people say maybe Nobara's cracked now because she's able to do damage to Sukuna that's lasting based on what Megami says. No, I just think it's her technique and a byproduct of it. I don't think Nobara is secretly the super cracked character. She's still not even top 25. Probably not even top 30. She's probably still weaker than Nanami. Put that into perspective. But once again, I've run out of time. Let's talk about the future. We're done. Once again, now, with the pace Gege went at for this chapter, I don't know what we're going to do with these last 3 chapters. Presumably all of next chapter is going to be saving Yuta, but even then, I thought all of this chapter would be the defeat of Sukuna. We kind of just halfway through the chapter, Sukuna's defeat got 1, I guess technically this is a part of a page, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 pages of this got dedicated to the defeat of Sukuna. But what's left? I don't know. Future-wise, we're going to make sure Yuta's fine because he lived. Whatever. He may be trapped and go to his body forever. He may have moved into Rika's husk or something like the other. But we're done. I'm not sure what else is left for the future. Maybe Yuji, Megami, and Nobara go on to continue the cycle of taking care of curses, and that's about it. I don't know. And I'll admit, not in an entirely good way. I don't know, mainly because Gege took a relatively fast-paced series and decided to jack it up to 47 here at the very end. I could have seen a different pace for these last 5 chapters, but now that this is chapter 4 with only 3 left, we're kind of just done. The next chapter is probably going to be taking care of Yuta, then we're going to do another, maybe 2 chapters of epilogue. Maybe a little bit of reflection. I don't really know. Would I love a Kenny comeback? At this point, no, because I don't think there'd be enough time for it. Kind of, sort of. Would I like a Sugata comeback? I don't think so. We're kind of done with the character at this point. So I'm not sure how I'd really feel about that. Do I expect any more fights? Not really. Who's left to fight? Other than maybe Tengen, I guess. But then again, Tengen goes unmentioned. It's like I'll admit, someone pointed it out perfectly in the comment section of one of the spoiler discussions. It's kind of like Tengen was forgotten about as a plot point the moment 240, I think it's 248 where Higuruma dies, about like 20 chapters ago. I think the Merchant was basically forgotten as a plot point since then. Ever since Kinjaku's end, because no one's talked about it. I thought maybe, and I say maybe, that Sukuna had thrown up Tengen, but no, they threw up their fingers. So, I don't know. I think we're kind of just done. And in a way that I will admit I am mixed on heavily. Part of me leans super duper hard into the idea that somehow Gege can still save it. But right now, considering, and I'm going to flat out say it, considering the damage that's been done, considering Sukuna's gone, Ume's gone, Kinjaku's gone, any of the major focal points of conflict are gone. And while I am mostly fine with Sukuna's death on one hand, another part of me is like clawing at the back of my mind, being like, are we really okay with that? Do we like that characterization? Gege's half and half. I'm half fine with Kinjaku's end too, just as I'm mostly fine with Sukuna's end, and I don't like Arame's. I don't like their end at all. And with all of our antagonists done, except for maybe someone who we barely know as an antagonist in Tengen possibly popping up and causing trouble somehow in these last 3 chapters, I don't know. Gege, I'm glad that Sukuna's finished, and I'm glad they went out in a way where Yuji got to stand above them. But for the rest of the execution, it's a little shaky. Not even a little shaky. It's very shaky. I really, like, if y'all can't tell, the vitriol with this is almost the same amount of vitriol that I have that Panda somehow gets to walk with these characters, even though it did literally nothing but waste our time and should have perished to Kashimo 1,000 times over. So I don't know. Future-wise, I'm a little bit iffy. I'm happy Yuta's alive though. You know, I got over that. At first I was like, I don't want him alive, but it's fine. He deserves to be alive. It'd be kind of weird if him and Rika both died within like a year of each other. So it's fine that he's back. And once again, he can hopefully live maybe a somewhat normal life. He's the only special grade left. But, of course, I'm out of time. So little time. So, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, please do me a favor and leave, I would say denouement. Like, and if anyone who wants to put that denouement, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of like Marluxia from KH Recom. I'm not sure if it's in base com, but denouement, which means like the conclusion of something, but it's French, and even I don't know how to spell it. Let's leave finished. Finished in heavy quotation marks in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below where you can support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks include the 33-minute live reaction to this very chapter, and 3 variations of all my videos. And if you become a $25 patron or a $25 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, I do have a link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You can drop 5 beans for a short video, 25 beans for a long video, or any beans at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching. Once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members: Sarah, Greyhound, Eternal Flame, NMA, Real Rare, Red Wolf 4765, Paris Arnold, Astro, Brandon Payne, and G Prosper. And I'd like to give a thank you to our $5 patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin, Encarnacion, Josh Brown, Ignia Lind, and A+A. And I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $7 members: Autumn Mornings Lazo, Fine, Zombie Hunter, and Austin Wimberly. Then I'd like to give a thank you to our $10 members: Robbie Uchiha, Jay Warrior, and AZ Void. Then I'd like to give a big ol' thank you to our $10 patrons: Overlord Zero, Joaquin Munoz, and Idem Okami. And I'd like to give the craziest, juiciest, most next-level, quadruple, sloppy, toppy, next-level superhuman in beyond this world kidney having thank you to our $100 patron, or that guy with a pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.